Hello, everyone, and welcome to starting your campaign with 3 hexes. I'm Michael Shorten, Chicago Wiz, and I'm really excited. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this in an online convention setting, so I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Hello to you all. If you're on here late or at night overseas, welcome. Hope you've had a wonderful day. We will get right to it. So, what is 3 hexes all about, and why am I going to sit here and talk to you about how to start a campaign simply? Let me tell you a little story. So, back in 2009, I was rediscovering Dungeons and Dragons and how much I loved it, and I decided to start a new campaign. And probably, if you're watching this, you're probably really familiar with that idea of, okay, what do I do? I mean, because if you go to the rules from original Dungeons and Dragons, written in 1974, this is what Gary had to say. The referee bears the entire burden here being preparation for the campaign. But if care and thought are used, the reward will more than repay him. First, the referee must draw out a minimum of half a dozen maps of the levels of his underworld, people them with monsters and varied horrid aspects, distribute treasures accordingly, and note the location of the latter 2 on keys, yada, yada, yada. Half a dozen maps? Are you kidding me? I wanted to get started and get playing. Well, then I went to the Dungeon Master's Guide, which, while not quite as in your face about what you must do, pretty much sets the idea that, you know what, you kind of need to come up with your idea and you need to add a lot of detail. And I just wasn't ready to do that. I wanted something or some way of being able to jump in, because I had this really awesome idea of smashing together fantasy with post-apocalypse, 2 of my favorite subjects. But I didn't exactly know how this was going to look. I just knew that I just wanted to play. And so I dug around and went to the internet, as most often we do these days for getting our ideas. And I stumbled across this idea that, and I wish I could remember the gentleman's name. Maybe you'll know who I'm talking about. He was posting on the Microlight 20 forums. Microlight 20 was a very condensed 2 to 3 page D20 clone. And he suggested starting with a hex in the middle and populating 6 hexes around it. Well, I've always been someone who likes the power of 3. 1-3 is really an easy thing to remember. And in academics, 3 tends to be the thing that you want to bring out. If you want to teach something and get it across, you come up with 3 ideas. If you ever listen to a lot of TED Talks, they'll focus on 3 main concepts. So I thought, you know what, instead of 6 hexes, why don't I start out with 3? And so let me share with you, let me click the right button here. Let me share with you with what that looked like. So unfortunately, I don't have my first hex map that I ever created, but I do have this. So I came up with the idea of a home base, someplace where the players could start out and always go back to, someplace where they could buy their crap, find out where to get more crap, and have the crap that they did pick up identified. Then I came up with 3 locations. And in my head, it was going to be a monastery outside of these deep woods called the Dark Woods, and a set of abandoned mines guarded by the kobolds, and then an abandoned inn on the outskirts of the great city of Eresia. And that's all I had. I came up with these 3 things. I dug into them. I gave them a little bit of flesh, and I got started with my campaign 2 weeks later after I had collected up enough players that wanted to come play in it. And 10 years later, we're still going at it. Just to give you an idea, After about 4 to 5 months, this is how my hex map had expanded. The players were busy pushing around and seeing what things that they could get into. And then shortly after that, by the end of 2009, my imagination had expanded it to this. I was kind of busy. The players started off in this little area right here. And I'm happy to say that as of today, they've managed to make it about 10% of this map. Now, I'm a little crazy. This is the kind of crazy stuff that I do. And I'm certainly not saying that this is where you need to go after a year. But by using the 3 hexes and by focusing on what was important early on, just giving the players choices, giving them things to do, and tying it together into a little cohesive story was enough to get the campaign off the ground, give them enough to do something for a few games, and give you, me, the dungeon master, enough time to start building on top of that. Because sometimes players are going to want to concentrate on one thing, and then you can put all your energy there, and they're not going to care about anything else. And so you can kind of leave that to later. I call it just-in-time preparation. All right. I want to encourage questions. I can talk real fast, and I could probably get through this in about 10 minutes, and I don't want to. So I think I've been told that you can put your questions into the YouTube chat. If you have comments, if there's anything you want me to stop and go back on, I will. And I don't know, I will copy this and paste this again into the Discord, so that you have the link. If you are interested, this is a copy of the worksheet that I've come up with so that you can flesh it out yourself. I generally, when I share this technique with people, I go ahead and I use this worksheet to help flesh their ideas out. Plus, this is kind of the mental exercise that I go through when I'm starting to develop a campaign. All right, so the idea is that we're going to have 3 hexes. And we want to start out with the theme of a campaign. So if you have some idea in your head that sounds really cool, you might already have this big idea, of what I want to do and where I want to go. I try to break it down into simple words, because what that lets me do is to concentrate on what's important. What are the things that I really want to hook the players on? So right now, something that I've been debating in addition to the games that I'm running is I just got done binging on Stargate. And I went through all 10 years of watching SG-1 and the 5 years of Atlantis and the 2 years or 2 seasons of Universe. Really, really just think that running a Stargate campaign would be cool. So, what are 3 ideas that we might have as themes of our campaign? Okay, so the first one is easy. Stargate. Duh. That's pretty easy to myself. But the second thing that comes to mind is, do I want to follow the TV show, or do I want to follow what the movie left on? What do I want my Stargate universe or campaign to be about? I kind of want to do a hybrid of both. I like the idea of being true to the lore, but I don't want to just retread what the TV show did. So for me, an idea is that they have to discover different stargates. So there are multiple stargates still left on Earth, and they're uncovering them. So we'll put on Earth, um, on on Earth discoveries. It's not words, but you get what I'm saying here. Okay, so we're going to discover 'em. So this campaign is going to be partially, about stargates, but it's going to be discovering different stargates on Earth. So what's another theme that I might want to come up with? Well, certainly like the idea of the Goa'uld being, the evil enemies of the Stargate SG-1 TV show. But I kind of want to change that around. I liked the idea from the movie that the aliens were, well, they kind of look like the gray aliens, or if you're familiar with Stargate lore from the TV show, they look like Asgards. And it got me thinking that, maybe it wasn't just Egyptian gods, but it could have been Mayan gods. It could have been, some of the religions from our history that we've touched on. So I'm going to say God, we'll call it many gods. So now this has given me three ideas of what can I do with this campaign. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to flesh this out into some sentences. Let's see. Sentence number one: the players will use the Egyptian Stargate to go to the desert planet. Okay, so that's one idea. Second idea: the players will need to find other stargates on Earth that are located in different ancient locations related to ancient cultures. Okay, so that gives me another thing. And then the third thing is that the old gods of ancient cultures were also aliens who will oppose those pesky humans exploring the galaxy. Okay, so that kind of gives me an idea of what this campaign is going to be about. And again, this is just starting out. I don't need to come up with a lot. I just need three kind of things to really hook my ideas on and to give me enough to start building a map and start building up things that the players can interact with. All right. Sound good so far? Well, since I guess y'all can't talk to me, so I'm going to assume that we're good so far. Okay, so something that okay, great. Something that though with these sentences that I always want to do is give myself and the players something to do and to experience in these sentences. So I kind of tried to build that in. And let me give you another sentence. So one of my 3 hex posts that I did, I was kind of fleshing out ideas. And one of the first things I wrote down was the kingdom of Smaza is a small kingdom, not one worthy of much notice. Okay, so that may or may not be a good idea. But when I sit there and I chew on it and I think about it, then you want to flesh it out. The kingdom of, and here, you know what? Let me make the text bigger in case you can't see my screen. The kingdom of Smaza is a backwater stop, mainly for thieves, liars, and conniving folks, offering risky work for promises of riches. That gives you something evocative, you yourself as the DM, something to work with. It's a backwater stop, meaning, okay, I can think of it as, you know what, there's not going to be a lot of fancy buildings here. There's not going to be a lot of rich lords and, things to get involved with. This is kind of maybe a shanty town or, a Mos Eisley kind of place, hive of villainy that, gives you something evocative to kind of hang on when you're getting your players into there. Thieves, liar, and conniving folks offering risky work. Come on. What player isn't going to want to jump into that? Plus, it gives you, the DM, a chance to kind of think about what kind of NPCs that you have. So most of these NPCs are probably going to be, looking out for themselves, trying to, cheat the players and take advantage of the players. So what I would do with these three sentences is keep reworking them if needs be to have some really evocative ideas to start from. Just something that's gonna make me excited or make you excited, and really, get to designing that. So, and then what I will do is I will go ahead and kind of pull these together into a cohesive paragraph. So something that, if we want to take this, okay, so um, uh, this campaign will start with the players going through the first Stargate found in Egypt in 1921 or whenever it was, leading them to a desert planet where Dr. Daniel Jackson awaits them. Aha! So, already something that the players can hook on. Hopefully, most of them, if they're nerds and geeks like me, have seen the original movie. If not, maybe that's a great session zero for you to show them the movie and give them an idea of what's happened before they arrive on the scene. But you also have a desert planet that gives you some ideas of things that you might want them to encounter on this desert planet, as well as already a built-in NPC, Daniel Jackson, for them to work with. Okay, so then the second one, the players will need to find other stargates on Earth to be able to travel to different planets. But other nations want to find them first. Aha! So here, okay, so we have to go back to Earth, and we have to maybe, go to a Mayan location, deep in the jungles of Central America. Maybe we're going to go to, some play, maybe buried underneath the Taj Mahal or someplace in India. Just, you have ideas here. Plus, now you get to add in a little bit of things that the players are going to run into, which is other nations. They want to get to those stargates. They want to explore the galaxy. All right. And then finally, awaiting them on these planets are the gods of ancient cultures who will not be happy to find those pesky humans coming through the stargates and finding new destinations elsewhere. So my idea here is that as the players go to these different planets through the stargates that they find on Earth, they're going to find other stargates on those planets. So rather than it being just a dialing and we can dial up the different characters, it actually ends up perhaps maybe those characters are a secret password. And to be able to pass through the Stargate, you have to get the password. Whatever. From my mind, I like the idea of a network and kind of spreading out and forcing the players to, rather than searching for Stargate addresses, they're actually having to find the Stargates themselves. Whatever, you get the idea. But here we have now a paragraph that allows me to start and to be able to build the rest of the campaign from. And in fact, if you're kind of looking through here, I have a lot of my first three hexes already built. Okay, so with that all said, I'll pause real quick, see if there's any questions. All right, get the thumbs up from Richard that we can go on. Okay, we're good. All right. So let's talk about the home base. Um, Generally, and I go back to, for those of you that know who he is, Jeff Rientz. Jeff Rientz wrote a blog called Jeff's Game Blog. He started back in the early aughts and is still writing to this day. Jeff's got a way of breaking things down that makes sense to me. And one of the things he always used to say about the town that players start from is really all they care about is where's a place to sell their crap, a place to buy more crap or cooler crap, and a place to talk to other people about where to get the really neat crap that's going to make them rich. Really, starting out, that's all you kind of have to worry about for your home base, is giving them enough that they can start off, they can come back, and they can get more information about where else to go. Obviously, that's going to build out and you're going to, improve upon that. But really, starting out, that's what you got to worry about. Okay, so let's describe how we're going to, or where the home base for the players is going to be for our Stargate campaign. First off, we're doing away with Cheyenne Mountain. I actually like Area 51 better. I thought that that was a great idea. So we'll call it Secret Military Base. Makes sense, that's going to be someplace that they can go to and do things and get things. Obviously, if they're part of some or involved in some military organization, they may or may not have to worry about buying or selling stuff just yet. Depends on how you want to put this. But let's say that for the getting or trading of equipment and buying equipment, they're going to have a like a Q scientist, or the scientist that is always building things and taking new things. So we'll call it mad scientist. And then for being able to interact with somebody or other people to provide them with more adventure. Let's say that they're going to interact with, I don't know, I'm going to cheat and let's say the CIA. So there's a CIA operative there who can help them to be able to get clues to what else is going on. Okay, 3 words. So let's do the same exercise as before. Let's flesh them out to give us something to think about the home base. So, so let's see. Area 51 has been set up as the secret location for all Stargate travel. An underground secret location travel, taking up a large portion of the underground base that houses the most guarded secrets for the U.S. military. Okay, a little bit evocative, kind of fleshing out. Also, maybe gives you some things, to think about. Secondly, the mad scientist, Dr. Igor Richard, let's see, known for their crazy inventions and even crazier theories of physics, supplies the players with new equipment, as well as investigating the things that the players bring back. Something like that. But, here again, giving you an idea of an NPC that you can hook onto and so on. And then, I would do much the same for the CIA operative, probably things like, CIA operative, good person in a, I'll say bad organization, yada, 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 wants the players to succeed, etc. Just something to be able to now give yourself something to hook on. So you've got the idea of the players can do things here. They can, get new equipment, get ideas, and so on. And you've got now a couple of opportunities to give them adventure hooks on where to go. So just to give you another example, where I started off with, Lionsgate is a peaceful traders town in the rural center of the kingdom. Let's give that a little bit more flavor. Lionsgate is a central rural trading hub for the kingdom. Its claim to fame is a daily dawn to dusk farmers market that attracts many visitors year round. So again, some things to think about and allow you to hook on, because now the players can go and interact with a daily farmers market. There's some sort of a council overseeing things, since this is a central trading hub. Maybe since this is important, there's going to be, a contingent of the King's Guard there, and maybe the players can hire, mercenaries from that King's Guard to help them go through or whatever. Here again, you don't need a lot. You just need enough to get started, to have hooks, and to give yourself ideas by which the players can do things. Now let's get to the good stuff. So here's a lot of blah blah that you can read later on, but essentially I'm going to come up with 3 ideas now for things for players to interact with. Okay, so going back to my Stargate campaign, we already have one. We have the desert world. Okay, that's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Now, I mentioned another one that I'm kind of really grokking and attracted to, and that is another gate at a Mayan pyramid. Okay, so that's yet another hex now that I can fill in. Third one that I'm thinking of is, what is the destination for the Stargate in that pyramid? And I'm kind of thinking of that of a water world. No idea. That's just the first idea that came to mind. So I have 3 locations to work with. So you might guess, what am I going to do with these? Well, I'm going to flesh them out. So let's take the one that I really haven't thought a lot of, Waterworld. Okay, so this Waterworld has a lot of islands on it. We will say that, oh God, give me a Mayan god here. Let's see, evil Mayan water god. Let's see what the Google says. Oh, there are many minor water gods. Let's see here. Again, this is exactly what I do when I'm just fleshing these things out. Minor water gods. Supreme god of storm and rain. Oh, that sounds interesting. No, that doesn't sound good. Aha! Hun Nal Yi. I like that. Well, we'll go with that. Okay. Hun Nal Yi, water god. And then I'm thinking water dragons, because who doesn't like water dragons in a science fiction campaign? Okay, so here again, I'm going to take those 3 ideas and I'm going to flesh them out a little bit. Let's see. Lush jungle islands dot this large world made up mainly of oceans with small primitive human cultures living on each of them. Okay, so again, something to start with, just something to kind of get your juices flowing and think about it. Let's see. Hun Nal Yi an alien brother to the former sun god Ra. Let's see, has a central temple on the largest island and controls it through his amphibious guards. Okay, and then finally, let's see, intelligent water dragons ply the deep waters of this world, coming up to communicate only when they are interested in the goings on of the surface dwellers. Okay, so again here, I'm trying to come up with things to interact with. I'm trying to come up with ideas to hook my hat on. And this will allow me to then be able to flesh this out in such a way so that when the players do show up and they do start interacting with this, I've got something here to build on. I've got something here to go on. Okay. So then that comes to actually building the map. Now, I use Worldographer, which is a program written, well, it started off in about 2009, and I don't know why it's not opening. Worldographer should be, there it goes. It's just being slow. Worldographer is, okay, great. Yep. So Worldographer is written by, oh God, why can't I remember his name? Joe's going to kill me. Anyway, let's see if he, no, he didn't put his name here. It's worldographer.com, and I apologize. I'm spacing his name, and I'll have to go look it up in a minute. But what I will do is I will just start out by creating my own map. And let's get rid of this and start with a new one. I want to fill it with all one generation, blank. Okay, so normally blank page would just scare the bejesus out of me. But I have, now, funny enough, I've kind of made this difficult on myself. You're wondering, okay, Mike, you have locations off-world and on-world. What are you going to do now? Well, that's a really good question. Didn't quite plan that one out. But what I probably would end up doing is something like this. So my first hex would be Earth. My second hex is going to be the desert world. My third hex will be, as soon as I select classic, will be the ocean world. And my, well, technically it's my second hex because the hex 0 is always my home base. And then my last hex is going to be my jungle. Now, just because these hexes are separated by stargates, that's fine, because for me, the stargates kind of make distance a no-brainer, right? So they can go from, from hex to hex just by using stargates. Now, if I were doing a fantasy campaign, the issue of scale always comes up. Mike, what is the scale for your hex map? Well, I'm going to make a small admission to you. I don't care. Generally, I draw my hex maps to be a day's travel when I'm doing fantasy adventuring. So if we go back to this guy here, you can't really zoom in. Well, maybe you can. You can kind of see really roughly here, all of these hexes. That actually represents a day's travel. So with this map alone, if I counted out the number of hexes, and I think it comes out to 200 and some odd, it would take them roughly 200 and some odd days to go from this point all the way over to this point. For me, it was never a big deal. And that's one of the things that I try to stress about the 3 hexes, is that the scale is only important in terms of how you want to start off the campaign and how you want to present it. For some people, it's real religious. Every hex has to be 6 miles. You know what? If that works for you, awesome, great. Then make it 6 miles and scale it to your heart's content. That's also going to kind of give you an idea of how to drive what's going to be in each hex. For other people, you might be thinking in terms of a point crawl. Okay, then you know what? Don't even worry about hexes. Then make 3 points on your map that people are going to crawl to. The idea is just to get you to come up with 3 locations that you can go to that the players can really interact with. So for me, I'm sticking with my example, and each hex is going to have some sort of really nifty, neato thing. So let's say in the first one, we already know that there's going to be a village where Daniel Jackson is at. So I'm going to scroll down here to, we'll use that guy. We'll drop it there. Okay. Then the next one for the island, if you remember, I was thinking about a temple. So we'll just use this pyramid here and we'll drop that there. And then for the Mayan location, I was thinking of, let's say, a dungeon where they can go in to find the next Stargate. However you want to do it. But now, and let's drop our military base here. And I'm done. I now have enough that I can start thinking about a campaign. Now, obviously, within these locations, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work. I'm going to have to come up with the specifics, or some specifics on, the village that Daniel Jackson is living in. Does anyone want to take a guess how many points I'm going to think about in this village? If you guessed 3, you're right. Same thing for the pyramid. I'm going to think about 3 things. I may come up with 1 level, enough to get the players started, and 3 things about that pyramid that I'm going to worry about. Same thing for the Mayan dungeon that the players are going to have to go to. Maybe I'll come up with a level and then 3 things about this dungeon that the players are going to have to concern themselves with. At all of these points, all I'm trying to do is give myself starting hooks. Now, a couple of caveats to all this. If it's in here, I'm pretty much done sharing, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen with a second. Okay, so let me go back to here. Okay, all right. So I just want to have enough to get started with, but I may feel really inspired. So if I'm really feeling if I'm really feeling like, wow, I've really got a lot of things that I'm thinking about for, the Mayan dungeon, and, I'm really going to dig into this, go for it. The idea here is you're giving yourself enough of a starting point that you've got enough to start the game going. But if you're really into something, or even more important, if the players are really into something, then absolutely go for it. When I started off my campaign, my players couldn't care less about the monastery, because I came up with the monastery, I came up with the abandoned inn, and I came up with an abandoned dwarven mine. Guess which one they went to first? The mine, because they thought, hey, we're going to get gold here. They didn't care anything about the monastery. So I didn't have to flesh anything out about that for a while, which was great because then I could concentrate on the dwarven mine dungeon, really get into that, get that all squared away, and then go on and do other things. Then the players got, distracted as players do, and they went and they checked out the monastery. So, okay, great. I can put the dwarven mines aside and I can really work on the monastery. I've already got the first level kind of fleshed out. I'll, get that prepared and done. And that thing ended up being about 4 levels deep. Then they got distracted from that and they went and they didn't even check out, they went and checked out the woods. They wanted to see what was in the woods, do a little bit of exploring there. Okay, great. Knowing that they wanted to do that, then I started fleshing out that part of the map and so on and so on. And so as they branched out and they got interested in things, I could devote my time to working on that. But when I got inspired, it allowed me to be able to build on things and tack on things so that when the players did get there or they needed something else to get interested in, I could drop the hooks on them and get them started. So I got about 5 minutes left on this. So let me sum up real quick. 3 hexes. You have one location, your home base, and you have 3 locations to start off with. You start off simply. Start off with 3 words for each. 3 words to describe your campaign, 3 words to describe your home base, and 3 words for each of the 3 locations. That gives you the starting point to go on, and it allows you the freedom to build from there. Whew, I got all that out. Okay, let me see now. I've shared with you the worksheet. I highly encourage you to do that. I'm also going to post onto the Discord the link to all of the 3 hexes posts that I did for 1 year, or roughly about a year, for 52 weeks. I posted a 3 hex campaign starter a week. So there's 52 out of them out on my blog. They range from fantasy to, post-apocalypse sci-fi to actually out and out science fiction and various bits in between. I think there's a gangbusters, so like a 1920s adventure. There's all sorts of crazy stuff that I had to come up with, and actually trying to do one a week was a lot harder than I realized. If you want to check those out, maybe they'll help give you an idea of how you can use the 3 hexes and what kinds of things that you can come up with. Other than that, I guess I will take a breath and see if there's any questions. No questions? Awesome. Let me check my Twitter real quick. Let's see. Did anyone have any questions there? No. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no questions, then great. I will let you all go. And, if you need to get a hold of me, if you have more questions, feel free to reach me. I'm Chicago Wiz on Twitter. You can catch me on my blog, or you can ping me here on Discord. I hope you guys have a really great Gauntlet Con. And thank you again very much for attending. And we'll talk to you later.